Ruto has essentially taken an office into exactly what is happening 1 year after he's been in office. There are ongoing talks at the Bomas of Kenya, Fanya Mambo. And there's a story that the Standard ran this morning on claims that the Kenya Kwanza side is trying to disrupt that particular process going on at the Bomas of Kenya. So yesterday, there was a 4-hour meeting with key party leaders of the Azimio coalition with Raila Amolo Odinga, and he said he is going to make a major announcement as regards the talks that are ongoing at the Bomas of Kenya. Is it true that up until this point, Fanya Mambo, that we can sit here and try and imagine that there are members within the Kenya Kwanza government who are essentially disrupting the talks ongoing at the Bomas of Kenya? Is it imaginable for us to think about that?
First, I want you to understand who Kenya Kwanza is before you discuss about the talks.
Yes.
You see, you have a government that sent policemen to fight demonstrators. And when demonstrators died, that government did 2 things. Number 1, they congratulated the police for killing them. Polisi wamefanya kazi mzuri. They went on, you know, they work half the time on top of vehicles, then the other quarter in the office. But most of the time they are working on top of vehicles with speakers. I think speakers deliver a lot more than, you know, the paperwork that's supposed to be done in the offices. But half the time they are on top of vehicles. And they congratulated the police for what they called quelling the maandamano and beating Kenyans and killing them. And then the IG came and said that these people have hired bodies. Nobody died. They've hired bodies and they are using them. And that was a very painful thing. I remember being on a show somewhere with Honorable Kaluma, and he had to walk out when a Kenya Kwanza MP asserted that bodies have been hired, and those are not real people. And it was very painful for Honorable Kaluma. He had to walk out of a show because he remembered how many burials he attended, how many families he helped, and how many people died of police bullets unnecessarily. And I think now that is the kind of government that you're talking about today, that is having talks at Bomas.
Yes.
They're already chest thumping on vehicles and saying that those talks will go nowhere. Those talks will bear no fruit. Those talks will be meaningless. And now, when they have that conversation, it's because they are happy to have demonstrations going on. And they're happy to kill more people and to say that they've been hired. And that is the painful thing. Because sometimes I see the deputy president standing in front of a church and he says he cannot get Raila Amolo Odinga's hand, and if he greets him, something will happen to his underwear from where it is and it will go to his head. And the church bishops are clapping. And that person now comes and is supposed to spearhead talks at Bomas. He's supposed to have, you know, Bomas, what is needed at Bomas is not politics, it's leadership. So you remove the heart of a politician and you wear the heart of a leader and start thinking of what is good for this nation, not what is good for Kenya Kwanza. By the way, Kenya Kwanza is not Kenya. Kenya Kwanza is one faction that sought political leadership in this country in one of the elections that had the least voter turnout in the history of this nation. So they should be a little bit humble and to realize, in as much as they are occupying political office, there's a very huge number of Kenyans who did not think it was necessary to vote in this election. And so it is only fair that we start looking at the talks in Bomas as Kenyans, as leaders, not as politicians, and not as people allied to certain factions. What is good for the people of Kisumu is good for the people of Central, is good for the people of Taita Taveta, is good for the people of every other part of this nation. And I don't think scuttling the talks at Bomas would be a good idea.
Yes, pretty much. A lot of developments that have also happened within the first